think that the mind of an investor is always looking for these opportunities.
Sure.
You see these announcements, you see a certain policy direction, and you begin to think and ask yourself, how can I take advantage of this from a real estate perspective?
I'll bring up two words, then you choose amongst the two. Lusaka and Copperbelt.
Lusaka, all day.
Oh, bye.
Bye.
Netflix or cinema?
Netflix. Netflix and chill.
Day or night?
Day. That's a tough one. Okay, day.
Animals or people?
People all day long.
Passion or stability?
Passion.
Okay.
Who doesn't want passion?
Who doesn't want stability? Introvert or extrovert?
In between. Straight down the middle.
You need to choose one.
Oh, God. Introvert.
Introvert. Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
You love tea?
Green tea especially.
Okay. Business or job?
Business.
Father or mother?
Father.
Oh, yeah. The father. Okay. So if you had to choose 3 people, dead or alive, that you want to have breakfast with, who would those 3 people be?
Okay, so both my parents are deceased. So I would choose my mommy and daddy to have breakfast with.
Okay.
And then the third person would definitely, without a doubt, be Whitney Houston. Anyone who's known me since childhood would know that that was my first ambition in life, was to be Whitney Houston.
I wish I could sing. And I... But that's good. Okay. The last one, the last set is what would be your best holiday destination?
Wow. Oh gosh, that's a really tough one. I think a great holiday destination is Zanzibar. It came to mind because we were there during the festive season
Awesome.
a few months ago. It was fabulous, wonderful.
I was supposed to take my wife there on our honeymoon. We haven't yet done.
You must do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So maybe.
take her for your 10-year anniversary. It's really beautiful, stunning.
Your inspiration.
My inspiration. I would say my inspiration comes from my relationship with God, because I feel like God has put a purpose on my life, and I'm inspired to actualize that purpose. You know, I don't want to get to the end of my life and feel like, I was never really who I was meant to be. Yeah, so that's my inspiration. That's what keeps me going. Yeah.
Okay. How do you see yourself in the future?
Highly prosperous, having a big impact, not only on Zambia, but the world.
Awesome. I love it. What's your end goal?
My end goal is to show us as Zambians and Africans that we can create the life that we really want. We don't have to be held hostage to our current situation.
Awesome.
Yeah, that we have the same ability to create, to prosper, to live a life of abundance as anybody else on this planet.
Awesome. Awesome. The final question would be, what's your comment to the viewers?
My comment?
Yeah.
Or like my advice?
Yeah.
My advice is take time to find what your purpose in life is and live it.
Excellent.
Live it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. We've spoken about the state of the real estate market. Can you talk about the challenges that are actually impeding the growth?
Yes. And I think that's a good point, because yes, the opportunities are there.
Yeah.
Why aren't we taking advantage of them at a rapid pace?
Yes.
What is the issue? What's the bottleneck? So I think one of the biggest bottlenecks that we're seeing in the real estate sector is the high cost of financing. Yeah, you know, our interest rates are really high. We're in a high interest environment, and our interest rates are now sitting at around, they're still in the 20 percentile.
Yeah,
that's high. Yeah. So for a commercial developer, you know, you have to think very carefully about that cost. The cost of money is still too high. So we're not seeing the levels of investment that we would want to see, despite all of these opportunities. And also coming down to how it affects the retail side of things in terms of financing is the mortgages.
Yep.
So if the interest rates are very high, it means that it's expensive even for the ordinary person to borrow.
Sure. That's true. You're
So
right.
you find that our mortgage penetration is quite shallow.
True.
Yeah. And you would have developers that may want to like do a housing project, but they have to think, who are the off-takers? Who's going to buy these units?
Yeah, true.
Nobody can buy a house with cash, or very few people can buy a house with cash. So they're looking at, is there a good possibility that people can go to the financial sector, get mortgages, and buy the houses I'm going to build?
True.
And right now, that's a bit tricky.
Okay. Talking about financing and the high cost of actually getting that financing, either via mortgage or just borrowing from a separate entity and all, you'd find that not because of the interest and the volatility of our currency. I'll give an example. There's one particular client that built a housing complex in one place called Makeni. But, at the time they were building those units, the dollar against the kwacha was favorable. By the time they were actually completing that project, the dollar went up.
Yes.
Meaning that he needed to also increase his pricing. But when you look at the state of the market and what he's charging, they're too different. They're too expensive. But now he's finding it hard to actually sell the property because it's more like 3 times the price.
Yeah.
Because he's also looking at his return on his investment.
Yes.
And then the amount of money that he borrowed and he needs to pay back. So it's been a nightmare.
Yeah, I think you're bringing up a very good point, Ngoza, which is a mismatch between borrowing in hard currency and the revenue.
Sure.
So what can happen at times is that investors will want to borrow in dollars because the interest rates are lower. But then their income is coming in kwacha.
Yeah.
So when we have this volatility, as you very well said, it can really put you in a bind. So that's also a challenge to grow. Yeah.
How I wish we could have an institution that is actually just focused on actually financing these kind of projects, but at a lower.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's what our cry has always been, that we need cheaper, long-term financing. Also, as you know, property is a long-term game.
It is.
Yeah. So, it's hard to go into property and want to make a very quick turnaround.
Sure.
Yeah. So if we don't have access to that long-term, cheaper financing, we're going to continue to face these challenges.
Sure.
You know that we have a huge housing deficit.
Yep.
Yeah. How on earth are we going to address that if the cost of finance is still very high? When we look at our return on investment, a lot of the models that people use are income-based.
Yes.
And these models were developed in more mature markets because those markets are saturated and, like I said, more mature.
Yeah.
When you look at Zambia, people will sometimes complain, rentals are low, but what do you get out of that property? You get rapid capital appreciation.